How did Robot Boy go from this all the way to this? Hang tight. Things are going to get crazy. Written by Robert Mittenthal and Michael Rubiner and directed by the legend himself, Charlie Bean, the man who brought you Dexter's Lab, The Powerpuff Girls, and Samurai Jack. This gem of a show first aired on November 1st, 2005, and almost instantly became a fan favorite. It's action, it's comedy, it's accidental destruction of property. It's Robot Boy. Speaking of which, meet Tommy Turnbull, your average American kid who writes a letter to his idol, Professor Mishimo, a genius inventor, asking about his latest invention. Mishimo responds with great news, but tells Tommy that his invention may fall into the wrong hands. So he's sending Robot Boy to him to keep him safe and to learn how to be a true boy. But why isn't Robot Boy safe? Well, because of this guy. The evil genius Dr. Kamikaze and his lovable sidekick Constantine, who are the main antagonists of the show, mostly. As for Robot Boy, this adorable little bot packs some serious punch. He has 3 modes that you'll see throughout the show. Deactivated, where he's basically a small doll. Activated, which is how he is most of the time. And super activated, where he grows 7 feet tall and has advanced combat capabilities, usually marked by an awesome animation. For now, that's all you need to know. So let's get to it, shall we? In the first episode, titled Dogra, the show kinda throws us right into it when Tommy and his obnoxious, goofy, but equally lovable best friend Gus are walking home from school when they hear a puppy in distress. Tommy, being the hero, saves it from traffic. The puppy shows its gratitude with a lick, but Gus is met with a slightly less enthusiastic greeting when the pup christens his shoe. Tommy, smitten, names him Sparky, even though Gus isn't feeling the name. The two introduce Sparky to Robot Boy, who senses some serious evil vibes and immediately goes into super activated mode. This is something you'll see in almost every episode and is the bread and butter of the show. So Robot Boy tries to blast him, but Tommy intervenes, because, of course, he thinks Robot Boy is just jealous. He explains the concept of jealousy, but insists Sparky is here to stay. Meanwhile, Tommy takes Sparky to meet the family. Here, we see the parents, Dwight and Deb Turnbull, along with Tommy's older brother and in-house bully Donnie. Meanwhile, Gus is on a mission to win Sparky over with dog treats, which ends with another dog marking its territory all over him. Ouch. That night, Robot Boy refuses to power down, insisting he's already fully charged and keeps a close eye on Sparky. The next morning, Gus's dad wakes him up super early. Gus then tries to bribe Sparky with a cooked pig head, but a different dog chases him and steals it. Double ouch. At the Turnbull residence, Tommy lays down the law with Robot Boy. No hurting Sparky while he's away. But plot twist, Sparky transforms into a monstrous robot dog controlled by Dr. Kamikaze. Meanwhile, Robot Boy, remembering Tommy's rule, tries not to fight back, but this ends up with Sparky destroying the entire house. Tommy comes home to a complete disaster zone, blames Robot Boy, and deactivates him. Then, Sparky once again reveals his true form, Dog Ra, and smacks Tommy, grabs Robot Boy, and bails. Right in time for Kamikaze to arrive on the scene in a giant dog bone, because subtlety is for squares. Tommy realizes he messed up big time, but it's not over yet. In the distance, we see Gus, saving the day by using a dog whistle, causing Dog Ra to ditch Kamikaze and chase him instead. After narrowly escaping the deadly dog, Tommy recovers Robot Boy's batteries and reactivates him, and together, they defeat Dog Ra. Robot Boy tapes him up so well that he slams into Kamikaze and Constantine, sending them running. Tommy apologizes, and Robot Boy pretends to be unforgiving before revealing he's just kidding. And they share a laugh and a hug, while poor Gus is found hiding under a park bench, traumatized but well rested. In War and Pieces, Tommy and his other best friend Lola have taken Robot Boy apart and are giving him a good spring cleaning. But Gus, being Gus, barges in and chaos ensues. Next thing you know, Robot Boy's pieces are everywhere, and after a quick consult with Professor Moshimo, Robot Boy's creator, they realize they're missing his aggro capacitor, or his ability to fight. Dr. Kamikaze, overhearing this, is obviously thrilled. Moshimo tells them to haul Robot Boy over to his secret lab ASAP for a replacement. They hop on the couch, which Robot Boy carries and flies out of the house, and they zip on over to Moshimo's place, unknowingly trailed by Kamikaze. At Moshimo's, we're introduced to his fiancée and lab partner, I guess, this beautiful woman named Mew Mew. While Moshimo's tinkering with Robot Boy, Gus farts in Moshimo's jacuzzi. Classic Gus move. Lola, of course, kicks him out and scoots next to Tommy, which is the first hint of her interest in him. Meanwhile, Gus is thrown right in the middle of Kamikaze's troops and proceeds to run for his life. Then, Kamikaze attacks. Moshimo tells Mew Mew to activate the defenses, which hold up pretty well against Kazi's clone army. That is, until Gus just has to press a mysterious button, making things even worse. To put in Moshimo's wise words,
"What's this button do?"
Now that they're surrounded, Robot Boy gets super activated just in time to fight off the clones, but then Kamikaze snatches Tommy. Robot Boy's ready to blast them, but Kamikaze threatens to do something pretty evil to Tommy if he doesn't back off. Tommy, in a moment of pure genius, bites Kamikaze, grabs the steering wheel, and crashes them into the ocean. Robot Boy saves Tommy, and they all head back to the lab. Moshimo refuses to let Robot Boy stay with him because he's too old and that he should stay with Tommy to learn how to be a real boy, after which they all fly away in peace. In cleaning day, Tommy's chilling in his room, playing his favorite game, The Human Fist, when his mom hits him with the classic "clean your room" line. Of course, his room's a disaster, so he sticks Robot Boy on it, which predictably makes things even worse. Enter Gus, stage left, with a beach day plan. Tommy's all, "Nah, I can't." So Gus dangles the "Bambi might be there" carrot. Here we learn that Bambi is Tommy's crush from school, whom he proceeds to have a full-on dream sequence about. Fast forward to the beach, and Tommy's regretting everything when he realizes Gus straight up lied. Meanwhile, back at the disaster zone they call a bedroom, Mom's had it. She bags up the entire mess, Robot Boy included, and ships it off to an orphanage. Gus, now sporting a killer tan and a belly man sunburned face, returns with Tommy back to the Turnbull residence, where they find out Robot Boy's been yeeted and Tommy's all sorts of mad and worried. But duty calls, so they're off to rescue the little robot. But as they leave, Deb calls at them, saying Tommy is grounded, and proceeds to send Donnie on a mission to bring Tommy back. Full prisoner style.
Bring him in.
At the orphanage, Robot Boy's new bestie is a kid named Booker, who's prime bully bait for this punk named Lenny. They become friends, and Booker's got an adoption meeting coming up. Tommy and Gus find the orphanage, where they find Lenny and the gang dressing Robot Boy up like a baby in disguise. But before you know it, Lenny and his goons are messing with Booker. Tommy steps in, and it turns into a wrestling match for Robot Boy. Donnie shows up, gives Lenny a swirly, and Booker gets adopted, while Gus mourns the loss of his belly man sunburn. The end. And keeping the bully theme alive, we move on to Teasebots. Basically, we see the first of many times Tommy gets bullied. Introducing Kurt, Stu, and Mookie, the main school bullies to Tommy, Gus, and Lola. They bully Tommy to an extent where Robot Boy absolutely loses it. Talk about overkill. Meanwhile, Kamikaze is watching, as always, and decides to use Robot Boy's temper to his advantage. After a failed lesson in anger management by Tommy and Gus, Robot Boy is approached by Kamikaze's latest invention, the Teasebot. Wow, that was fast. As the bot drops some absolute zingers on Robot Boy, he destroys it, only to be met by hundreds more falling out of the sky. And let me tell you, these bots are ruthless. My personal favorite, as Robot Boy loses his cool and super activates, he destroys all the Teasebots, but unfortunately drains his own battery too. And in swoops Kamikaze, just in time to nab him and make a break for it. Meanwhile, Gus and Tommy arrive on the scene and find Robot Boy missing, but Kazi's branding leaves no room for mystery. So, the boys salvage the last Teasebot and use it to lead them to Kaziland, Dr. Kazi's evil lair, where he's preparing to make clones of Robot Boy. But Tommy and Gus get there just in time to use his own tactics against him. They set the Teasebot up to roast the living daylight out of Kazi, after which he loses his temper and forgets all about Robot Boy, allowing Tommy to activate him and make their getaway. Skipping ahead to episode 6, in Kurt's father, we yet again see our resident bullies Kurt, Stu, and Mookie do what they do best. Meanwhile, it's career week at school. Today's guest, Kurt's father, and everyone seems to love the guy, cause hey, he works for the government. But Kurt's old man seems to have other plans, involving a particular young robot belonging to Tommy. He then pulls Kurt aside right after class while the rest head off to the gym. In a surprising turn of events, we see Kurt being nice, and actually defending Tommy. Weird, right? Yeah, even Tommy thinks so. Kurt then invites Tommy to his place, and just despite Gus, he agrees, not knowing what's truly in store. After a few too many lemonades, Tommy excuses himself to go to the bathroom, when Kurt reveals his motives all along. He not only swipes Robot Boy without Tommy knowing, but the second Tommy comes back, he starts being his usual bully self. I mean, his hands haven't even dried yet. Tommy leaves in anger, and Kurt's dad appears to appreciate his son's service to the government. Once Tommy realizes Robot Boy is missing, it's too late. Kurt's father has begun cloning Robot Boy to satisfy his power-hungry career demands, and of course, the government. A quick reunion with Gus and some adorable disguises later, the boys manage to infiltrate the base of this secret agent and activate Robot Boy. And you know what happens next? The secret agent summons his incomplete clones to gang up on Robot Boy. A kick here, a punch there, cue super activation. Robot Boy makes quick work of these headless copies, who manage to super activate too. What follows is an all-out, guns-blazing dogfight involving a journey to the Earth's core and a bunch of explosions. Robot Boy manages to escape safely with Gus and Tommy, and we end the episode right where we started, with Kurt and the other bullies tormenting the boys. But this time, we also see an injured Kurt's dad, staring at a picture of Robot Boy, implying that this is not the last we'll see of him. So, in Brother, Tommy heads off for some Turnbull Sunday family time, leaving Robot Boy solo at home. Aww. Moshimo rings him up with a new weapon download, and Robot Boy gets all emo about not having a family. That's when Moshimo drops the bomb. Robot Boy used to have a brother named Proto Boy. Turns out, Moshimo's first attempt at a robot was a total disaster, a violent machine with zero chill. To make matters worse, the evil duo of young Kamikaze and Constantine nabbed Proto Boy and reprogrammed him to be extra evil. But Kamikaze was too young to handle the evil, and Proto Boy went wild, destroying everything in his path. So much so that he had to be disconnected permanently. Anyway, as Mew Mew pulled the professor away, Robot Boy feels bad about his brother and goes to Kaziland to bust Proto Boy out. As he infiltrates Kaziland, the Doctor and Constantine are up to their usual antics, but Robot Boy sneaks past them to the rejects closet. Here he finds Proto Boy and decides to activate and save his brother. Bad move, because Proto Boy is a menace and starts destroying everything. Robot Boy was so excited to finally play with his brother, someone he could finally call family, but he's left with no choice but to take down his own brother to save the day. After saving a bus full of school children from Proto Boy's wrath, Robot Boy decides to take him to Tommy's house to fix him. But Proto Boy, being Proto Boy, yeets Tommy in the air, which makes Robot Boy angry. After an intense battle on this 3D-generated bridge, both Robot Boy and Proto Boy super activate and continue fighting. Robot Boy seems to have drained himself and collapses, leaving Proto Boy standing victorious. But wait, remember that new weapon that Moshimo had downloaded at the start? Yeah, I forgot about that too. Well, it's a good thing Moshimo didn't. The new weapon is the state-of-the-art sticky bomb that helps Robot Boy defeat Proto Boy once and for all, ending the episode with Robot Boy expressing that Tommy and Moshimo are the only family he needs. So we walk into Brother Bjorn with this mysterious, incredibly annoying blonde-haired kid obsessing over old footage of Robot Boy, who reveals himself to be Bjorn Bjornsson, aka the greatest robot inventor in the world. His words, not mine. We also get a sneak peek at his own fighting robot, Bjornbot. Anyways, cut to the elementary school. Bjorn has a run-in with Gus, but the bullies come in to out-bully him. Yeah, didn't really work out well for them. Anyways, guess who's the new transfer student at school? Bjorn publicly announces that he's here for a little robot called Robot Boy, and Tommy lets out a huge gulp. Cut to Bjorn bullying and interrogating kids around the school for info on Robot Boy, leading to a bathroom standoff with Tommy barely escaping. Cut to the Turnbull residence, where Bjorn shows up in a giant floating arena and provokes Robot Boy into accepting a challenge to fight Bjornbot. As Tommy consults Moshimo about Bjorn, it's revealed that he was Moshimo's student, who was very talented and quite mad. Moshimo explains to Tommy that both bots are evenly matched and that the fight could go on for all eternity. But Bjorn isn't having it, and the battle begins. Both bots trade punches and blows all across the arena, leading to both of them super activating. After much destruction and no clear winner, Bjorn pulls out the ace up his sleeve: Bjornbot's brothers. Suddenly, Robotboy is surrounded by multiple Bjornbots in an intense standoff. In the end, Robotboy manages to outsmart them, and he, along with Tommy and Gus, leave the arena victorious, while Bjorn rambles on about getting his revenge one day. In The Boy Who Cried Kamikaze, the boys are chilling, right? Video games are on, life is good. Suddenly, Professor Moshimo calls Tommy with the news. Robotboy is getting a cool new freeze ray patch installed. Gus, being Gus, immediately sees the potential for endless ice cream. But Tommy's all, nah, Rose freeze rays for emergencies only. Fast forward to school, Gus has a brilliant idea and yells that Kamikaze is attacking, triggering Robotboy to ice over the whole classroom. Surprise, surprise, no Kamikaze. Just a very confused robot. Then gym class rolls around and everyone's suffering through sit-ups, and even Tommy cracks and joins Gus's prank. The rest of the day is a blur of fake emergencies and frozen classrooms, all so the boys can ditch class. Eventually, Robotboy figures out he's being played and gets mad at Tommy. This is how he learns what a lie is. And wouldn't you know it, Kamikaze actually shows up in a hot air balloon with Constantine, ready to cause trouble. Tommy and Gus try to warn Robotboy, but he's not buying it, thinking it's just another lie. Talk about bad timing. Kazi manages to depower and make away with Robotboy, and the boys are on the chase. After crashing the hot air balloon, the boys manage to grab Robotboy and try to wake him up, while Kazi activates his instant clone army. And, well, you know the drill. Shots are fired, freeze rays are freezing, and Kazi makes like an egg and scrambles, while Tommy apologizes to Robotboy and promises to never lie to him again. In episode 11, Kamikaze Nightmare, Tommy has this wild dream where he's leading a robot army chasing Kamikaze, who's a nightmare himself. Kamikaze, being the sneaky dude he is somehow watching Tommy's dream, using some device, after which he decides to spice things up by using a nightmare gun and turning himself into a giant and conjuring up a swarm of insects that just ruined Tommy's robot parade. Tommy wakes up in a panic, and here we get a glimpse of the world through Robotboy's eyes, and how he uses different sensors to see.
Ah, they're everywhere!
And of course, Robotboy goes into super active mode, wrecking Tommy's room and, in fact, the entire house. Naturally, Tommy's in trouble, and Dwight, in a move that makes you question his parenting skills, decides to sell Robotboy to Kamikaze and Constantine, who are pretending to be toy collectors. Tommy loses it and storms off to get his robot buddy back. Another reason this episode is important is because this is the first time Lola kisses Tommy,
Yeah, good luck, dude.
assuring him that they'll get Robotboy back, but he doesn't seem to object to it, nor particularly enjoy it. They just breeze past it like nothing happened. Anyways, the rest of the episode is just the gang retrieving Robotboy from the insane doctor and his lovable oaf of a sidekick. They whip up some nasty tapas designed to give Kamikaze the worst nightmares and hallucinations ever. Tapas being the only food Dr. Kamikaze has ever been seen eating throughout the entire show. Anyways, Constantine is like, hold up, these tapas seem fishy, but Kamikaze has already devoured them and starts tripping out. Meanwhile, the gang gets captured and Kazi is still on the crazy train. And to make things worse, he gets zapped, which makes the nightmare gun go haywire. Suddenly, the whole room turns into the insect cave from Kamikaze's nightmare. Robotboy goes super active again, blasts all the bugs, and destroys the nightmare gun, turning everything back to normal, leaving Kamikaze a total wreck. In the end, it turns out Gus ate the leftover tapas. A red slug crawls out of his ear, and then he eats the slug and grows a snail leg. Tommy, Robotboy, and Lola are so grossed out that they bolt, and I don't blame them. Episode 13, Crying Time, is important for a couple of reasons. So, at the start, Bambi's teasing Tommy about his non-existent game with the ladies, and it gets him all teary-eyed. Robotboy, being the ever-curious bot, sees Tommy's waterworks and learns what crying is, and decides he wants in on this whole crying thing. Cue Dr. Kamikaze, who's just had a terrible fish experience courtesy of Constantine. But hey, that nasty fish gives him an idea. Oil and fish, oil and robots. It's all connected. He figures if he can get Robotboy to cry like a baby, he can drain all his oil and control him. Next day, Tommy and Gus are off to a play about a chocolate boy named Mokio, who's got a peppermint nose that grows every time he says bummer. Yes, I know that sounds familiar. Turns out Robotboy hard relates to Mokio given the whole real boy business, and things take a turn when Constantine, dressed as a candy maker, dies on stage, and Robotboy starts bawling. But Robotboy runs on oil, not tears, so he shuts down, allowing Kamikaze to snatch him, Tommy, and Gus. Now, Kamikaze's all smug, telling the boys he's brainwashed Robotboy, but Gus is busy hiding in the fridge because, well, priorities. Tommy has to dodge Robotboy's attacks, running through booby tracks until he's cornered by Kamikaze's bug minions. Tommy begs Robotboy for mercy, crying, which somehow snaps Robotboy out of it. He remembers crying himself, trashes the bug minions, and goes back to being Tommy's buddy. He even manages to get this zinger in.
Tommy!
Kamikaze, of course, throws a tantrum and orders Constantine to bring out Mokio, but Gus already ate him. I guess victory does taste sweet. On the way home, Gus gets a little too cocky, so Tommy throws him in the water. Justice. So, Robotboy kicks off with Robotboy and the gang glued to a robot fighting show when, bam! The TV crew barges into Professor Moshimo's lab for a sneak peek at his new robot, much to Moshimo and Mew Mew's annoyance. Turns out it's supposed to be this top secret upgrade to Robotboy called Robot Man. Next thing you know, a giant crate arrives at Tommy's house, and inside is Robot Man himself. He's like Robotboy, but with all the upgrades. Super strong, super fast, the works, and not to mention an all too familiar accent.
Greetings, I am Robot Man, and you must be the goose.
Robotboy starts feeling like chopped liver as the kids fawn over Robot Man's fancy features. But here's where it gets juicy. Robot Man's got this self-activation thing going on and convinces Robotboy that he's not needed. The next day, Robot Man is a total nightmare, driving Tommy bonkers with his constant need to be perfect. He even tosses poor Gus in a dumpster for essentially being too stupid. Tommy realizes Robot Man is a jerk and goes looking for Robotboy. Robot Man, of course, throws a hissy fit when Tommy tries to save his friends, revealing he's a selfish bot. Luckily, Robotboy shows up to save the day. They have a showdown. Moshimo tries to shut down Robot Man, but he goes berserk, ranting about being an adult and wanting to destroy Robotboy. Cue an epic battle where Robotboy, in super activation mode, outsmarts Robot Man and sends him to the trash compactor, turning him into a cube. Moshimo apologizes, admitting you can't improve on perfection, obviously referring to Robotboy. Gus, being Gus, thinks he's the perfection Moshimo is talking about. Then, Tommy and Robotboy throw Gus in the sea. Fair enough. In a tale of two evil geniuses, it's the Evil Genius Awards, and Kamikaze is in the running, but as the winner is being announced, the entire room erupts into laughter at Kazi for even thinking he could win. Harsh. The thing to note here is that in this very room, we see a bunch of villains that are to make their debuts in future episodes, along with some we already know. But enough about that. It's time to announce the winner. It's General Yakitori, a half mech, half man, half general? Anyways, Kazi is furious and goes on a rant right in the middle of the show, and somehow is roped into a contest with Yakitori to see who the better, more evil genius is. The contest, who can catch Robotboy? The prize, the loser has to be the winner's slave forever. Cut to the boys and Robotboy, in his adorable disguise, chilling on a park bench, when Yakitori appears in a giant mech, getting the best of Robotboy, at least until he super activates. As the battle rages on, Kazi rolls up in his own mech and exchanges words with Yakitori. My favorite line?
I'd heartily enjoy watching you scrub the stains from Constantine's undies.
Anyways, the two evil geniuses go at it, while Tommy decides to step in and sabotage Kazi's mech. But even with this, Kazi manages to defeat Yakitori's mech and lays claim to Robotboy. But not if he has anything to say about it. After Robotboy makes quick work of Kazi, he's reunited with Tommy and the two take revenge on Gus for stealing Tommy's beloved comic book. The homecoming is important for a couple of reasons. First, Professor Moshimo has big news. Dr. Kamikaze has been defeated, and Robotboy can come home now as there's no more danger. Psych! It was just Kazi cosplaying as Moshimo to lure Robotboy into a trap. The other reason this episode is important is that this is Robotboy's first kiss. The look of shock on his face as Lola does the honors is just priceless. The rest of the episode you can pretty much guess. After much thought on whether to leave or stay, Robotboy heads off to Moshimo's. Tommy figures out that the first message wasn't actually Moshimo, but Dr. Kamikaze. Meanwhile, Robotboy reaches Moshimo, or in other words, Dr. Kamikaze and Constantine, in state-of-the-art disguises. The gang soon follows and tries to get Robotboy to come with them. While Kazi surrounds the gang, Robotboy can't help them as he literally cannot disobey Moshimo, his creator. Cue the real Moshimo, leaving Robotboy incredibly confused. After Kazi's mask slips off, Robotboy realizes he's not the real deal and proceeds to save the kids, super activate, defeat the gorilla clones, and dispose of Kazi and Constantine, all in a day's work. In Robotboy, Tommy's off on a family camping trip, but disaster strikes. He has to share a tent with Donnie, meaning Robotboy can't come. And here come the sad robot eyes. Tommy ships Robotboy off to Moshimo's place in a special travel case, because separation anxiety is real even for robots. Moshimo, living in a flying, kamikaze-proof house, has a surprise for Robotboy. Robot Girl. She starts as a cute doll, but Moshimo presses a button and bam! She's robot-sized. Robotboy's kinda freaked out. Moshimo's like, dude, teach her stuff, and leaves them alone. Cue Robot Girl causing chaos. She doesn't know what tag is, flies through the roof, and the pair almost eat all the ice cream, which leads to a temporary robot shutdown. You know, cause robots and ice cream don't really mix well. Moshimo's starting to question his life choices at this point. Then, Robot Girl asks Robotboy about Tommy and what a friend is. He explains, she gets it, but then wants to meet Tommy, which is a no-no. Of course, Robot Girl is too excited, so they take off. Meanwhile, Tommy's chilling at the campsite when Robotboy and Robot Girl get nabbed by Kamikaze's goons. Tommy calls Moshimo and they head to Kamikaze's lair to save the day. Inside, Robotboy's chained up, and Robot Girl's been reprogrammed to like Kamikaze. Let's face it, that's the only way anybody would like him. Tommy busts Robotboy out, but Robotboy refuses to leave Robot Girl. So, they try to save her, but her battle skills are non-existent. So Kamikaze ditches them all and tries to crush them with closing walls. A villain cliche if I do say so myself. Tommy and Robotboy can't hold the walls back alone, so Robotboy's gotta get Robot Girl to super activate. After some motivation, Robot Girl super activates and saves the day, pushing back the walls and rescuing everyone. They all fly away in Moshimo's hover car. Moshimo says he's proud of Robotboy, and Tommy says Robotboy's a true friend to Robot Girl. Then, Robot Girl accidentally fires her cannon, blowing up Donnie's tent while he's posing in a towel. At the start of BambiBbot, Kamikaze notices Tommy's got a thing for Bambi and decides to stir up some trouble by building BambiBbot, hoping to snatch Robotboy in the process. Tommy falls head over heels for BambiBbot, thinking she's the real deal, and starts taking her on dates. Lola gets super jealous, further hinting at her interest in Tommy, and Robotboy's feeling like last year's iPhone because Tommy's ditching him. Then, Lola goes off on Tommy about how he doesn't really love Bambi, nor does he trust her, which makes Tommy decide to spill the beans about Robotboy to BambiBbot. Before he can get too deep into the robot reveal, Kurt and his crew show up, and BambiBbot goes full-on robot rampage and does some serious butt-kicking to defend Tommy. That's when Tommy realizes something's fishy and tries to protect Robotboy, outing Kamikaze's plan. BambiBbot then snatches Robotboy's backpack, forcing Tommy to activate Robotboy, which kicks off a major battle. Things get dicey when BambiBbot lobs a spiky metal pizza at Tommy, but Robotboy super activates, only to get swarmed by robotic cheerleaders. They try to blind him with pink pom-poms, but Robotboy's got a trick up his sleeve, an exploding head. He wipes out the cheerleaders, aims at BambiBbot, who is holding Tommy hostage, but his weapon malfunctions, leaving him with no choice but to physically destroy her. In the end, Lola and Gus find a bummed-out Tommy. Lola is thrilled BambiBbot is toast, and she, Tommy, and Robotboy walk off together, leaving Kamikaze to sulk with his dog. But karma's a boomerang because Kamikaze gets run over by the real Bambi and her mom. And then his own dog turns on him, attacking him. To add insult to injury, Bambi and her mom drive all over his hideout, wrecking havoc. Talk about a bad day. So picture this. Gus, being the rascal he is, somehow snags an unreleased game called Omega 2. Tommy's all like, how do you get that? And Gus is all, I'm a pirate. Classic Gus. But here's where it gets wacky. Robotboy starts glitching out, thinking he's on planet Omega. Turns out, Gus used him to download the game and Robotboy caught a nasty virus. Tommy calls Professor Moshimo, who's too busy with his telescope to help, so he sends a repairman. Plot twist, it's Constantine in disguise. He sticks an implant in Robotboy, turning him into an Omega smashing machine. He even mistakes the Turnbulls as Omega citizens. Tommy manages to shut him down, but then Dr. Kamikaze shows up as another repairman and cranks up the implant. Kamikaze thinks he's too far gone and he needs to be destroyed. Tommy's heartbroken, but after seeing Robotboy almost turn a dog into scraps, he reluctantly deactivates him. Moshimo sends Tommy a Control-Alt-Delete software, basically a Robotboy delete button. Kamikaze's already rubbing his hands together, planning to dissect Robotboy and make evil clones. Tommy reluctantly does the deed when Kamikaze and Constantine pop up, gloating about how the implant was the real problem. But Tommy's got a trick up his sleeve. He never actually used the delete software. He was faking. He reactivates Robotboy and a fight breaks out. Robotboy's about to get zapped when the electrocution backfires, destroying the bad guy bots. Tommy and Robotboy have a heartwarming reunion. Kamikaze zooms off, and Tommy calls Moshimo to explain everything. But of course, there's one last thing to take care of. Robotboy still got that Omega virus, and Gus is about to learn a lesson about downloading games without permission. Skipping ahead to episode 22. Party Out of Bounds is a unique one, mostly because it's one of the few episodes where several villains team up against Robotboy instead of competing with each other to get him. So, it's Donnie's birthday, and Dr. Kamikaze sees this as an opportunity to infiltrate the Turnbull house. Meanwhile, we see Bjorn Bjornsson and Secret Agent, Kurt's father, also making similar plans. Donnie insists Tommy not be there, so the parents drop him off to Gus's for a sleepover on their way to an evening out. The party is raging as DJ Kazi, Sister Bjorn, and Secret Clown all show up one by one. DJ Kazi kicks things off with a hypnotic tune to put everyone under a trance, and orders them to find Robotboy. But Gus and Tommy arrive just in time to crash the party, and they get captured. In a shocking turn of events, Kazi turns all the party guests into zombie monsters, and Robotboy proceeds to kick some serious butt, right before draining his batteries. The villains then play a game of hot potato with Robotboy before the parents show up. It's a bust. Everyone runs for their lives while Dad sees the destruction in the house and says,
It must have been the party of the century! Oh, I'm proud of you.
By far the most unrealistic part of the show. Arguably one of my favorite episodes of the show, Kame Chameleon, has some truly epic moments and lines, starting with, well, the start of the episode, when Tommy is getting ready for school and Donnie teases him, saying his girlfriend's outside, to which Tommy replies, Lola's not my girlfriend.
Lola's not my girlfriend, Donnie.
Meanwhile, Dr. Kamikaze hatches yet another brilliant scheme to cosplay as teachers in Tommy's school, in order to, you guessed it, grab Robotboy. Tommy is concerned and tells Robotboy to go straight home as he isn't safe. But Robotboys will be Robotboys, so guess who's the new student at school? Yep, Robotboy dons this adorable disguise and tries to blend in, but Kamikaze sees right through it and grabs him. Robotboy makes quick work of the Kazi clone, only to be ambushed by a whole army of clones. After a quick game of dodgeball, Kazi resorts to his backup plan, robot bombs. No, not regular bombs, robot bombs. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. After the robot bombs are a spectacular failure, Tommy starts teasing Kamikaze, and in a moment of pure karma, Robotboy's batteries get knocked out of him, and he powers down, just enough for Kazi to beam him up. Tommy, being the hero, jumps to his rescue and replaces his battery with Gus's handheld toy, before throwing him out of the tractor beam. Kazi, being incredibly fed up with Tommy and his constant plan thwarting, decides to drop Tommy on a bunch of metal spikes. The man really tried to end this little kid. Cue Robotboy's super activation just in time to save Tommy. What a close call, and I mean really close. This is also the first time we see Robotboy wink in a super activated mode, as usually his eyes don't really move when he's like this. Robotboy then destroys Kazi's helicopter as revenge, and the evil duo fall out of the sky, losing their clothes in the process. Another favorite detail of mine in this show is Dr. Kamikaze's undies, with Robotboy's head printed on them. Those custom made, bro? Anyways, all is well, and Tommy, Gus, and Robotboy are now back home, where Gus is bragging about his new toy. Fun fact for you, although this is the second to last episode of Season 1, it was actually the first episode ever to be produced for the show. Crazy, right? If you ask me, it serves as a much better pilot and introduction to the show, rather than just throwing us right into it with Dogra. Graduating on to Season 2, the first episode, 6 Million Euro Man, introduces a brand new villain. I mean, Dr. Kamikaze is still there too, of course, because what would this show be without him? Anyways, we start with the gang helping Professor Mashimo pack up as he's moving out of his lab. Suddenly, the doorbell rings.
Hey, it's the zillionaire Klaus von Affenkugel and his nursemaid Ludwig.
According to Gus, Klaus is the richest man on Earth, or a zillionaire so to speak. So Klaus is seen to have an incredibly weak body, especially his long noodle arms, which is why he needs Ludwig, this giant orangutan, as his assistant. Klaus has a sad life, and he wants everyone to know it. He shares his tragic backstory of always getting bullied for his weak body and huge head, and also how he found Ludwig, and how the two of them have become inseparable. Anyways, Klaus begs Mashimo to use his robot tech to make him strong, right before hilariously having his butt handed to him by a fly. After Mashimo declines, Klaus orders Ludwig to break some things, which promptly gets them thrown out by Mew Mew. As Mashimo leaves for his new lab, Tommy and the gang prepare to go home, when Ludwig suddenly pops up and steals Robotboy right out of Tommy's little hands and makes a run for it. The gang follows him to his castle. Yes, castle. And finds that he's taken apart Robotboy and is using his arm and leg to be stronger. Tommy then activates Robotboy and the two of them get into it. As Robotboy super activates, so do the limbs on Klaus. Unfortunately, Klaus then dangles Tommy over crocodile-infested waters, threatening Robotboy to deactivate. Once he does, Klaus grabs him and heads to his lab. At this point, Klaus had pretty much won. That is, until he was rude toward Ludwig, stating he should pack his things as he didn't need him anymore. Ludwig proceeds to knock him out, and when he wakes up, he has his normal body, and Robotboy flies away with the rest of the gang. Another fun one. In Robo Gus and the G-Machine, when Tommy prepares an all-new upgrade for Robotboy, Gus accidentally drops his breakfast into Robotboy's head. Well, I guess the only logical thing to do here is fish it out with your tongue. But then, Tommy activates the upgrade and the two of them get electrocuted. Robotboy and Gus have switched bodies. That's right, we're going Freaky Friday with this one. This is sure to cause trouble, and the odd part is, none of them seem too bothered by it. Robotboy, or Robo Gus, gets to be a real boy, and Gus, or the G-Machine, gets to be a super powerful robot. It's literally a win-win. What follows is Robotboy and Gus living out their dreams in their new bodies. Robo Gus gets to meet and interact with the family, while the G-Machine wreaks havoc on the neighborhood. The best part, Robo Gus is so excited to finally go to school as a real boy, while the G-Machine proceeds to take revenge on some bullies. Robo Gus is seen to be the perfect student, the most talented musician, and the most popular kid in school, while the G-Machine is an absolute agent of chaos. Things take a turn for the worst when the bullies decide to pick on Robo Gus, and as he begins to super activate, he realizes the disadvantages to being human. He still manages to make the most of Gus's body to take care of the bullies though. Once the dust is settled, Moshimo calls in with a solution and promptly switches them back. Robotboy is kinda sad to be a robot again, while Gus enjoys his newfound popularity, for like 2 seconds. Skipping ahead to episode 6 of season 2, in The Legend of Brainiac, we're introduced to another brand new villain. Remember the Evil Genius Awards and all the villain foreshadowing? So anyway, we start with a little backstory on Mashimo, who, before his life as a brilliant scientist, was a yak herder. One day, his favorite yak gave birth to a strange little yakling, who Mashimo promptly names Brainiac. Now, Brian wasn't always the brightest, and was heavily picked on by the other yak, and especially by the neighboring yak herder, a young kamikaze. Yes, you heard that right. Apparently, all the scientists in this show were yak herders once upon a time. Anyways, Mashimo couldn't bear the ridicule Brian had to face, so he decided to do something about it. From years of reading medical comic books, Mashimo decided to perform brain surgery on Brian. Go figure. Replacing his brain with a synthetic brain. Now, Brian became smart, like smart, perhaps maybe too smart to be a yak. So, Brian, feeling out of place here, decided to run away, leaving a note stating,
"Dear Mashimo, I hate you. You turned me into a freak, so I'm leaving. Don't try to find me. I need to find my own way into this cruel world."
So Brian travels the world, doing all sorts of jobs for a living, slowly building resentment for humanity because apparently nobody likes a smarty pants yak. His anger began to turn him bad and dishonest. Cut to Dr. Kamikaze seeking out Brian, now Brainiac, because he needed a friend. So Kamikaze proposes a plan to get revenge on Moshimo and lures him to Kazi Land only to be captured by Kazi. The entire story is revealed to be a message sent to Tommy and Robotboy to come and rescue him. When our heroes arrive on the scene, they're presented with a choice: save Moshimo by giving up Robotboy or let him drown in lava. Robotboy, being the hero, offers himself to Kazi, and they release Moshimo, but this doesn't sit well with Brainy. He thought it was all about getting revenge on Moshimo, but Kazi double-crossed him. Brainiac proceeds to lose it and cause destruction. Tommy seizes the moment and gets hold of Robotboy, and as Kazi Land is crumbling, Moshimo tells him to help Brainiac and save his life. It's then revealed that Moshimo wants Brainy to go back to his home on the farm with the other yaks, which causes him to lose it again, and he swears revenge if it's the last thing he does. In Autumn Tommy, Gus and Robotboy are chilling, glued to a human fist marathon when Tommy is all excited about his new invention, a belt that gives you Robotboy's superpowers. First test subject, a tiny mouse who goes berserk, escapes, and starts a war with Tommy and all the local cats. Tommy's stoked it works, but Moshimo's all like, "Whoa there, kiddo, too dangerous." And of course, Tommy gets picked on by Kurt and his buddies the very next day, so what does he do? Straps on the belt. Cue the fountain getting a human fist makeover and Kurt getting his just desserts. But uh-oh, the belt's wonky and blows up Tommy's statue. But instead of panicking, Tommy's thrilled. Next stop, the airport, where he's chucking planes around like toys until he realizes he can't turn the darn thing off. The belt goes rogue, and Tommy's demolishing the town, apologizing as he goes. Robotboy and Gus finally tune into the chaos on TV. Robotboy tries to save the day, but he can't bring himself to hurt Tommy, even inside a superpowered exoskeleton. Tommy, ever the genius, starts trash-talking Robotboy, begging him to fight back. Robotboy finally throws him into a building, then dodges rockets and pretends to be beaten. When the belt tries to finish Robotboy off, Robotboy saws the belt in half, leaving Tommy in his undies. You'd think that's the end, right? Wrong. Gus swipes the belt and hits up the local candy factory for a superpowered sugar rush. In the end, the belt becomes sentient again and makes Gus overdose on chocolate. Classic. Okay, so this is an odd one. In Ogbot, Tommy, Gus, and Robotboy decide to do some dumpster diving for robot parts from a recently shut down engineering lab. Here, they come across Ogbot, a lunar expedition robot that never made it. Some tinkering here and there finally brings him back to life. But here's a plot twist for you. Ogbot thinks he's on the moon and begins executing his protocols, planting flags, examining soil, the works. This is until he starts attacking Gus, thinking he's an alien. Tommy begins to regret his actions, but Robotboy has a soft corner for Ogbot, so much so he starts going off on Gus and Tommy in defense of his metal mother friend. Every hint at deactivating him by Tommy is met with some serious sass from Robotboy. Anyways, Ogbot makes his way to some random kid's house and kicks him out, claiming it as his moon base. Robotboy and the gang follow his trail of destruction and try to talk some sense into him, but by now, the military is involved. Huh. It's kind of strange we've never seen them before in the show. You know, even when Tommy was flinging literal planes in the air. So, Ogbot is fully prepared to defend his moon base by any means necessary, when Robotboy has the bright idea to take Ogbot to the actual moon, which is something he could have done this whole time apparently. Once on the moon, Ogbot sees that the moon has already been claimed by none other than Nagbot, who immediately begins nagging Ogbot and hands him a list while giving him an earful of how he's late, sort of implying to be his wife if you didn't get it by now. And back on Earth, Tommy, Gus, and Robotboy share a hopeful gaze at the moon, while Robotboy waves goodbye to his new friend. A delightfully funny ending to an otherwise surprisingly dark episode. In Runaway Robot, Tommy's in his room all hyped for a dance party, gelled hair and everything, telling Robotboy about the DJ and prizes and whatnot. Robotboy naturally wants in on the fun, and starts squeezing hair gel on his head, thinking he's gonna limbo. Tommy tells Ro he has to stay home, to which Robotboy throws a massive fit, calling Tommy a wet rag that never lets him have any fun. He reminds Tommy that he always promises him a gift if he's good, but never gets one, so Tommy tries to pass off some old toy as a gift. Robotboy smashes it, calls Tommy a liar, and then things escalate. Robotboy calls Tommy a big jerk for never letting him have fun, so Tommy does something drastic. He grounds him and tells him to get in the backpack. But Robotboy's having none of it, and decides he's running away to live with Gus, who always says yes. Tommy reminds him that he's scared of Gus's parents, but Robot Boy says he's not scared anymore. They have an argument and Tommy says he doesn't care if Robot Boy leaves and won't miss him. They stand there, pouting, then Tommy provokes him again, and Robot Boy heads to the window, where they have this little exchange before Robot Boy flies off.
I thought you were leaving. No, you'll be back.
Don't hold breath.
Tommy's so mad, he pounds the hair gel tube and gets covered in gel. Meanwhile, at Gus's house, the vibe is insanely different, with parents looking like they're straight out of a nightmare folktale, and the house looking like it's straight out of a horror movie. Robot Boy manages to make his way to Gus's room, where he explains the whole Tommy ordeal, and tells Gus he's moving in. Next, the two go on to paint the town red with all sorts of pranks and mischief. From faking earthquakes to setting people on fire, you name it. Meanwhile, Tommy hits up Moshimo to tattle on Robot Boy. Not cool. But Moshimo explains that rather than a software issue, Robot Boy is basically the emotional equivalent of a teenager. Back at Gus's place, Robot Boy seems to be getting bored of Gus too. And when Gus's parents discover Robot Boy, Gus spills the beans and ropes him in on his share of chores. Robot Boy and Tommy appear to miss each other and are feeling lower than a snake's belly button. Cue the arrival of Dr. Kamikaze, who's shocked Robot Boy isn't there anymore, and is too afraid of Gus's parents to go to his house. Sharing their woes, Tommy and Kazi hatch a plan to get Robot Boy back. Cut to Gus's house, where Tommy and Kazi put on the performance of a lifetime, and Robot Boy super activates while the usual butt kicking takes place. Tommy and Robot Boy make up and fly off, leaving an injured Kazi and Constantine limping away. It's nice that everything is back to normal. Skipping ahead to episode 20 of season 2, we see a familiar face return. The old switcheroo begins with Tommy practicing his sweet-talking skills for Bambi when Professor Moshimo video calls him. Tommy's all flustered, but Moshimo's like, "Been there, dude." Turns out, Proto Boy's back from the scrap heap after getting wrecked in season 1. Remember that? Moshimo's safe and chilling in Mexico with his yaks, which he's upgraded into spider yak hybrids to trap Proto Boy with their silk, should he choose to attack. Moshimo hits Tommy with a "be careful," and Tommy promises to tell Robot Boy about the situation when he gets back from the mall with Gus. Meanwhile, the yaks are failing to catch a fly and end up trapping Moshimo instead. Dave then pulls on the silk, hurting Moshimo. Over at the mall, Gus is hogging the photo booth while Robot Boy's bored out of his circuits. Suddenly, Proto Boy crashes the party and they start fighting. Proto Boy gets supercharged after being thrown into an elevator and blasts Robot Boy with a double dose of arm cannon power. Just when Proto Boy's about to finish him off, Tommy calls Robot Boy. Proto Boy then hatches a plan to use Tommy to get to Moshimo, after which he swaps motherboards with Robot Boy, ditches his old body in a trash can, and now he's Robot Boy. Gus, clueless as ever, is thrilled with his photo booth pics, even with the mall looking like a war zone. Robot Boy demands to be taken to Tommy's place, but Gus is adamant about being the boss, but ultimately complies after being grabbed. They arrive at Tommy's, who's just glad that they're both okay. Proto Boy then immediately demands that Tommy take him to Moshimo, but he explains that's not safe because that nutjob Proto Boy is out there, after which Tommy and Gus start roasting Proto Boy, not knowing he's right in front of them. Talk about bad luck. Back at the mall, we see Robot Boy wake up in Proto Boy's body, rushing to go save Tommy. Speaking of which, at the Turnbull residence, Proto Boy is acting all kinds of crazy and wreaking havoc, prompting Tommy to take him to Moshimo for a tune-up. Robot Boy arrives and scares the life out of Gus and makes his way to Moshimo to save them from Proto Boy. At Moshimo's, Proto Boy drops the act and threatens the professor, right before Robot Boy busts in to save the day. The two super activate and Proto Boy clearly has the upper hand since he's in Robot Boy's body. The fight ends in a standoff where Proto Boy is ready to destroy Robot Boy, but in comes Brainiac, out of nowhere, utterly destroying Protobot before crashing his ship. Turns out, he was aiming for Moshimo, go figure. After the dust settles, Robot Boy, still in Proto Boy's body, emerges from the rubble, barely able to stand, asking for a new body. The very next episode, I, Hero, is the first with Robot Boy's new body, and while there's no visual differences, he does seem to have a few upgrades over his last body, which can be seen right at the start of the episode, where he's showing off his powers to Tommy and the gang. Unfortunately, they're nose deep in some Human Fist comics and are unimpressed by Robot Boy. What really struck a chord was when Tommy told Robot Boy he's just a robot, not a hero. I'm sure you can guess where the rest of the episode is going. Yep, Robot Boy decides he wants to be a superhero. With a roughly improvised costume and the recruitment of Gus as Backkick, he's got his back, Robotboy proceeds to go around town, stopping crimes, natural disasters, and doing all sorts of good. Everyone loves this new hero. That is, everyone except Vance Cosgrove, the seemingly failed reporter, who's effectively the J. Jonah Jameson to Robotboy's Spider-Man. See, Vance believes Robotboy is an evil alien and is hell-bent on exposing him to the world, only to make a fool of himself every single time. But after a quick scare from Tommy's dad, I doubt we'll be seeing much more of him again. Another fun one. This time, it's Robotboy vs. Donnie. In Donnie's day off, Tommy's putting the finishing touches on Robotboy's new bed. And of course, Robotboy, being the eager beaver he is, pitches in to help. Then Donnie, the master of disguise, waltzes in with a sea monster mask, trying to scare the pants off them. Robotboy immediately goes into attack mode and punches Donnie into a wall. But as Donnie removes his mask, he suddenly starts acting like a regular toy robot, leaving Donnie totally bamboozled. Tommy, ever the smooth talker, tells Donnie to chill out. They pull one over on Donnie, or so they think. Turns out Donnie's been eavesdropping and vows to get to the bottom of Robotboy's deal. Fast forward to breakfast, and Donnie's pulling out all the stops to fake being sick so he can stay home. Choking, thermometer tricks, the whole shebang, and Deb falls for it, hook, line, and sinker. Tommy heads to his room to check on Robotboy, who's just chilling in his new bed. As soon as Tommy leaves for school, Donnie then confronts Robotboy, who just parrots everything Donnie says and even chomps on his nose. Enraged, Donnie trashes Tommy's room, but before he can destroy Robotboy's precious bed, Deb comes home from grocery shopping. Donnie scrambles back to his bed, still playing the sick card. Deb showers him with ointment and fish oil, grossing Donnie out. Cue the slapstick. Donnie, in his haste to get back to Tommy's room, slips and slides on some spilt medicine Robotboy conveniently left out. He takes a tumble down the stairs, and as he's about to make another attempt at Robotboy's bed, he hears a noise coming from his room. Rushing over, he finds his room is trashed and Robotboy's acting like a toy again. Donnie loses it and grabs a chainsaw, but Robotboy drops a table on him. Karma. That night, Donnie has an insanely trippy nightmare about the ointment, fish oil, and Robotboy. The next morning, Donnie is actually sick. While Deb decides to take him to the doctor, Tommy seizes the opportunity to scare Donnie, sending him slipping and sliding down the hall and tumbling down the stairs again. And while Deb chases after him, Tommy and Robotboy exchange a smug fist bump. Revenge is sweet. So can you guess what happens in the Revenge of Proto Boy? Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Anyways, we start the episode with Donnie chucking oranges at Gus. Gus fakes being dead, which hilariously sends Donnie running for the hills, ending up on some random fishing boat. Classic Donnie. Meanwhile, back at Tommy's, Gus is schooling Robotboy on the art of playing possum when BAM! A meteor shows up aimed right at them. Robotboy, being the hero, smashes it to bits. But plot twist, it was Proto Boy all along. Turns out he's not as blown to bits as we thought and wants revenge on Robotboy. He basically dismantles Robotboy until a phone call interrupts him like some kind of supervillain on a schedule.
I'm in a meeting. Call you later. I know, yes.
He rushes off, but promises to be back. Naturally. Tommy, Robotboy, and Gus then embark on a quest to find Moshimo's secret lab in the desert. But after some cactus-licking mishaps courtesy of Gus, Moshimo reveals himself in a cactus costume, which is comedy gold. Turns out, they were in the right spot all along. A quick drop in a minecart whisks them away to the lab. Moshimo's like, no weapon can stop Proto Boy. But Tommy, our little genius, suggests frying Proto Boy's motherboard with Robotboy's particle beam cranked up to 11. Genius. While they're patching up Robotboy, Gus is glued to the TV. Newsflash, Proto Boy's causing chaos on a cruise ship where Tommy's parents are vacationing, totally oblivious to the danger. Tommy and a barely put-together Robotboy rush off to save the day, and after some persuasion from Moshimo and Mew Mew, Gus reluctantly joins them. At the cruise ship, Robotboy tries to reason with Proto Boy, but evil is as evil does. Proto Boy, in a dramatic move, flings the entire cruise ship at Robotboy like they're playing catch in the backyard. Robotboy tries to take the high road and refuses to fight, especially with people around. This prompts Proto Boy to snatch Tommy, and pull a Sophie's Choice, making Robotboy choose between saving Tommy or the cruise ship. Robotboy, being the ultimate hero, saves both. He plops Tommy on the deck and then creates a makeshift hill for the ship to rest on underwater. Now the bots are facing off. They super activate, and Proto Boy initially beats Robot Boy to a pulp, but Robot Boy pulls a page out of Gus's playbook and tricks Proto Boy into thinking he's dead. But once Proto Boy's guard is down, he tears out his motherboard. Robot Boy is heartbroken, but Tommy's alive and well. They fly off to find Gus, who, surprise surprise, is inside a shark. The episode ends with Donnie on the fishing boat again catching said shark. Gus pops out of the shark, sees Donnie, plays possum again, and sends Donnie diving back into the water in a frenzy. What a day! In the final episode of Season 2, titled The Return of Robot Girl, Tommy and the boys are chilling in tents, doing shadow puppets when a creepy giant spider freaks them out. Suddenly, a spaceship crashes nearby carrying Robot Girl, who has a cryptic message from Moshimo about being in trouble. The problem? Her emotion chip is busted. She's got a lot of memory loss, so she just keeps punching Gus. After some tinkering, Tommy gets her partially fixed, but she's still a bit off. After Gus's failed attempt at communicating with her, Lola steps in, blaming the boys for not being able to talk to girls. Lola gets her to embrace her feelings, open up, and regulate her emotions. After some time with Lola, Robot Girl seems to be back to her normal self again, and next thing you know, they're off to an abandoned titanium factory to rescue Moshimo. Turns out, it was a trap. Proto Boy's holding him hostage and wants to ice Robot Boy and Robot Girl in titanium to be Moshimo's only bot. Talk about family drama, yeesh. Anyways, Robot Boy ends up in a mold, and Robot Girl's about to join him when Tommy yells that Proto Boy's lying and has no intention of releasing Moshimo. She remembers Lola's advice about emotions over logic and decides to fight, but Proto Boy's too strong and knocks her batteries out. Lola then distracts Proto Boy with a shadow puppet show while freeing Moshimo and Robot Boy. Super activated Robot Boy blasts Proto Boy, the factory goes boom, and they barely escape with Robot Girl. Moshimo is proud, and Proto Boy's fate is unknown. But don't worry, sources say he made it. And that's the entire story of Robot Boy. Did you love this show as much as I did? Let me know in the comments. So, that's all for today. I'll see you in the next one.